Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In this video I would like to discuss some of the misconceptions my fellow Americans had about Romania and the Romanian society when I arrived here in the United States, and meeting various people, they asked me questions and they told me what they knew or they didn't, or their misconceptions I realized that they had regarding Romania. And I will start with the first one. And the first one was this misconception that Romania was a communist country and we were all atheists. And because communists are atheists, Romanians were atheists, and from there it sprang into the fact in their mind and their information they had, that information came from their mass media, and I even read some books here stating that Christianity was banned in Romania, that you couldn't worship Jesus Christ, and Christianity and any other religion was banned, and the churches were demolished, priests burned, and all that. Well, that's not true. And I'm going to tell you my experience. And if you go to Romania to visit, you find churches. That's the first, and then obviously they said the churches were closed and demolished and burned and all that. Well, that's false. And as I said, if you go to travel, you find old churches everywhere. Not something that was built yesterday after the so-called revolution from 1989. There are churches from hundreds of years. In this downtown, in the center of towns, wherever, they're everywhere. And they were not closed. They were open. And they were functioning. There were priests inside, and you can go and you can worship. Nobody would ask you anything. Nobody would come and arrest you. Nobody would do anything to go in. Now, if you are a member of the Communist Party, you could go inside. You can go and worship. The only thing was that if someone who did not like you much would report you, you might have a little discussions in the party saying, "Hey, Mr. Kosman, you can't have allegiance to something else than the cause of communism and so on. So please refrain from visiting this kind of..." This was how it was discussed. You were not beaten, you were not hanged, you were not arrested, you were nothing like that. Why? Because I know that my family, did that. And I was in the church. I went to the church. Now, again, you could have religious processions. You have marriages. They were with priests. You have, funerals. There were priests. You have people with crosses. You would have crosses. It was nothing banned about that. So let's put it aside, that thing. They said they demolished. Yes, they demolished some dirty, ugly, that were not functional churches. I know that for a fact. I can vouch for that. And if you can believe what the communists did when they build nicer cities, and they build apartment buildings and big roads and all that in the cities, they carefully picked up the church, the whole church up, and moved it somewhere else 300 yards, and then they built that over there. They didn't demolish it, they moved it. There are some videos even on YouTube regarding the exact thing I'm talking about. So that was one of the main misconceptions. Another one was that Romanians speak Russian. It was another one, and it was mandatory for us to speak Russian, and Romania was part of Soviet Union because it was from the Eastern Bloc. So they said, you are Russia, you belong to Russia. Another misconception: we don't belong to Russia, nothing belonged to Russia. Maybe belonged to Soviet Union, which Russia was part of, like Ukraine was part of, Kazakhstan was part of Soviet Union. That was the country, Soviet Union. Romania was another country. Poland, another country, Hungary, another country, Bulgaria, another country. That were the satellites of this country's interest. That's all. We spoke Romanian. We didn't have to learn Russian in school. I learned French and English. And then when I went to the high school, I learned German. And I lived in a German town. So I had 3 languages right there, plus Romanian. So I was exposed to them. So that was another misconception. Another one is that you had an ascribed education. The government just picked you and say you're gonna be an engineer, you're gonna be a teacher, you're gonna be a pipe layer, you're gonna be a construction worker. That was another lie. It was not like that. You pick whatever education you are able to attain. So it was based on tests of knowledge. You go and get tested. You go to college, you go to high school based on examinations, on knowledge. If you don't pass it, you don't go into the high school. If you pass it, you go to the high school. If you pass further, you go to college. You didn't pay anything. You didn't pay anything for college, school, medical, dental, nothing. It was free. Let's put it this way. You didn't pay. I'm here. I want you to. Okay. They didn't have the materials because they were poor, but they fixed things. All right. There was another one. Another one I wrote down here was that they heard, my fellow Americans heard that in order for me to travel from one city to another, I needed to ask the permission for travel. Like I need to provide travel documents. Never, ever, ever heard about anything like that or experienced or heard about that from my grandparents and so on. Nothing. There was, I don't know where that was. Maybe in Russia, crossing from one in Russia and Soviet Union. See, in Soviet Union, traveling from I know Kazakhstan into Uzbekistan or something, crossing those little Soviet Socialist republics border. I don't know how it was over there, but I'm telling you, in Romania, you travel wherever you want in Romania, but you couldn't get out of Romania. You could go in, you can come as a tourist, no problem. Anybody could come into Romania, but you could not go, but only in the socialist countries, like as I mentioned, Bulgaria, Poland, Eastern Germany, Soviet Union. These were Czechoslovakia. These were the countries you could go and travel, but not anybody. You had to prove that you had a, they call it, like you don't have here a felony. You don't have criminal record, and you have a reason to, to be an outstanding citizen, or to belong to the security forces, or to be some shot in the Communist Party. Yeah, then you could travel. But it was not necessary you had to have that. No, you just have to prove that you are a decent human being. Not anyone could go, obviously, but you didn't have your own passport. The passport was held by the government. And not everybody had a passport. The passport was made only for you when you were going out, and when you're coming back, you give it back to the authorities, and you don't have a passport home. We couldn't have foreign currency. I'm talking about US dollars and German marks and, pound, sterling and so on. You couldn't have that. If they found that, you had a felony right there. You go to prison. You didn't go to jail. You go to prison. 2 years, 3 years, and so on. There were no drugs. There were drugs, but we didn't find any drugs. There were alcohol and cigarettes. These were the drugs. Probably somewhere there were drugs, but you never, never encountered, never heard about it. So these were some misconceptions about Romania that I found when I came here, and my friends were very surprised about, my friends, people I spoke with, were, and some of them were my friends, were surprised to hear that. But I'm telling you other misconception. I've been asked how many hours is to drive from Romania to United States. I've been asked that one. And not only one time, about, let's say, many times. So I said, yeah, I drove the car underneath the Atlantic Ocean. That's a tunnel over there, and you can go and travel. So this thing really stuck with me, because it was like, I mean, I understand United States is a big country, important country, should know about Romania, you know what I mean? But at least a little bit of geography, you should know. Okay, if I tell you I come from Europe, you should immediately know that you can't travel, you can't drive a car from Europe here. So if I tell you that Romania is in Europe, you should at least make the minimum connection, intellectual, bzz, 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 your neurons should make contact, and transmitters, and make sure that you realize that you can't possibly come with a car. How long is a drive from Romania to New Jersey, for instance? So yes, there were some questions like this, and I can tell you that I was received in this country with a lot of benevolence. I was seen like a monkey, you know, coming from a tree, or like a caveman coming from the jungle. People were not evil. They simply did not know. That's all. I mean, it's like they were telling, did not know what I experienced. So they could maybe tell me about the telephone. You have telephones in Romania and things. Really, and I'm not kidding. I mean, I don't intend to, because I don't provide any names, or I'm not going to insult anything. But these things happen to me about telephone. I don't mean to insult you, Emil, but do you guys have telephones over there? Or you have TVs? Because they don't know. Now, I think that crosses a threshold of being really ignorant as an individual, and, you know, making a mistake. I mean, I think it's sometimes these things should not be really seen as a, oh my God, it's a mistake. No, you're just really, really ignorant. But it's okay. I didn't know many things, so I learned them, memorized them, and I became more knowledgeable. So many of my counterparts did. That's great. So these are just a few misconceptions. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.